Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Monday, June the 9th. And welcome to our Week in Review conversation with our good friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We've got Bill actually today by phone. We're kind of going old fashioned here for technical reasons, but it's just as good as always. And Bill, let me welcome you to a telephone interview. I bet you haven't done one of those in a long time.
Oh, absolutely. You know, monitoring the things that are happening. I got up this morning specifically to watch the riots in Los Angeles and found out it's the best thing on television. I mean, now I understand there's a rumor going around where I am in New York that the local authorities are trying to start a riot here because you get so much publicity.
That's right.
I mean, nothing this big usually happens.
Well, Bill, I think I was going to tell you that we had a march. You probably didn't hear about this because nothing happened, but we had a march in Austin. Austin, as you know, is not only the capital of Texas, but it's like a liberal outpost.
Yes.
And the representative that they have in that particular district makes your candidate for governor look patriotic, or your candidate for mayor, I should say, look patriotic. But anyway, so they had a march on Tuesday, and it went very smoothly. There was no problems. They were very quiet. They all got to call Trump a dictator and everything else, but nothing happened. And I'm beginning to think, Bill, the reason that nothing happened is because they were not allowed to bring bricks and gasoline to the march. I guess you don't get to do that in Texas.
It's really terrible. I mean, Texas is a fascist state. We all know that.
Of course.
I mean, in the real America, you can bring bricks and gasoline.
That's right. But I wanted to chat with you today, Bill. You're right. It is the story of the moment. Well, a lot of other things going on, but this is the story. And I wanted to get, first of all, your reaction to what you were watching on TV. I mean, just your reaction to what was going on, if it brought back any memories of other riots in the past. And then let's talk about what it means for both sides, or the repercussions for both sides. When I was watching it, Bill, it kind of brought back a little bit, as much as I could remember, back in 1967 or 1968, when President Johnson sent the armed forces to Detroit, I think it was.
It was Detroit.
Yeah, to put down some race riots back then.
Yes.
And he sent everybody. I mean, that was a huge military presence there.
It sure was.
And
let's not forget that while it was not a riot situation, President Eisenhower sent the military into Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, to get the little African American children into a school. Right. Governor Orville Forbes forbade school integration, but that was then the law. The Supreme Court handed down a ruling, and Eisenhower did not hesitate, but he did not use the National Guard, which I think is interesting. He used regular paratroopers from Fort Bragg, and they came in there. Their order was to get the children into the school and get out as fast as possible.
Right.
In other words, get it over with. We have done our job, and that's it.
Well, there was also, Bill, if I may interrupt you, there was also President Kennedy and Governor Wallace, wasn't there?
Oh, yes. I don't know if I think the issue here, which is becoming the big issue, is that the president sent in the National Guard. He can activate the Guard from the White House by simply mobilizing the National Guard in any state.
Right.
But not usually under circumstances like this, where you're going to use the Guard without the specific request of the governor of that state. Now here, he overrode the governor of the state, sent the Guard in, and they are on the streets. There'll be a lot of law cases on this. He will probably lose a few of the early ones and then win in the Supreme Court.
Right.
But what is so disgraceful about this is the fact that the political left does not seem to understand that the American people want the criminal element off the streets. They want them out of the country. And they're sitting there defending them.
Right.
And the statement by Kamala Harris, which is probably a career-ending statement, in saying that, well, these are our neighbors. These are our working people in the neighborhood, and they're frightened, and they shouldn't be frightened. There are migrant workers. I mean, for goodness sakes, doesn't she understand what this is about?
Right.
I mean, she's about as dumb as a log.
Well, when I read that, Bill, I thought she was from San Francisco. So,
Yeah.
so I didn't know that she was from LA, but maybe I wasn't keeping up with her residential movements. But
Well,
they're
giving us so little information
Sure.
about the people that they're covering. They have not told the American people yet that Karen Bass, who's the mayor of Los Angeles, when she was a congresswoman, was known as the congresswoman from Cuba.
Right. That's right.
She wanted to be the first U.S. ambassador to Cuba once restrictions were lifted. She was a fan of Fidel Castro. She was very much a hard leftist. But they don't tell you these things.
No. And the other thing they don't tell you, Bill, which is what I think is the key issue here, at least from my looking at it, is that California is not cooperating with federal law. I mean, these are ICE agents who are going in there and they're looking for criminal cases. They're not rounding up immigrants. That's not happening. They're looking for specific cases. Now, if that were to happen in most states, the local government would turn them over or simply say, that's where they are, go get them. And in this particular case, they're hiding these criminal elements. I saw the list of some of the people they're looking for. I'm not exactly the kinds of people you want as neighbors. And so that's what I think is most troubling here, that California chooses to be a sanctuary state. And it's one thing to be a sanctuary state in theory and be popular with the left. But as the mayor of New York found out, when you actually put it in practice, it can be very deadly. And California, I mean, this is ridiculous what's happening in LA. And President Trump, I thought, was correct in protecting the ICE agents who are trying to do their job. That was the motivation, as I understand, for sending the net or federalizing or whatever. But I just think that the role of California here is completely wrong, Bill.
I think you're absolutely correct, and I think it's going to have profound effects for a variety of reasons. If there is one thing that is going to get the film industry out of California itself, it's this.
Right.
I mean, they cannot function in a situation where this is happening, and California may lose its greatest asset, which is the entertainment industry. They're tired of this stuff from California, and they want smoothness and good relations. So, and I think that it may have other effects down the line, especially if riots start to break out in other states or in other Democratic cities. The Democratic Party is absolutely brain dead. It's brain dead. I mean, they have a governor there who doesn't seem to understand that he is a citizen of the United States first, and he is the governor of a state that must pay the federal government a certain amount of money in taxes, state taxes to Washington every month, and if he doesn't, he's in violation of federal law and can be arrested.
Right, but don't you think, Bill, he wants to get arrested? That way he can get out of. That way he can get out of California. I mean, it's the same. I mean, if President Trump were to say to the mayor of LA that she's going to be arrested and sent to Cuba, she might just be the happiest girl in the USA.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, he can't wait to get arrested and have the pictures, because he knows that the press will be with him.
Right.
I mean, the only operation that's playing it straight is Fox. I mean, if you watch CNN during this thing, it is sickening. It's just sickening. They look for every little opportunity to pin this whole thing on Donald Trump.
Right.
And Trump was not responsible, and he made it worse, they say, by sending in the guard. That's always the excuse that's used. Let us handle it for you. If you bring in the guard, people will get upset, and it's going to get worse. Well, of course, when you bring in the guard and the criminals see American soldiers on the street, they're going to get very, very upset.
Right.
And you see, you made it worse. That's the oldest line in the business. But I think I think that this may go on for a while. I don't know who's in contact with whom. We're not being told. I suspect somebody from the White House must be in touch with somebody from the governor's office in California. It's inconceivable they're having no contact.
Well,
but you never know with this crowd.
Yeah, well, the mayor of LA, in an interview that I saw, or a press conference, I saw a few minutes of it this morning. It was probably a rerun, but I saw it early this morning. And she did say that she was talking to the White House chief of staff.
Yes.
That was the conversation, or at least that's what the mayor. But I just cannot believe that this is good for California, a state that is, as you know, going to be losing they're projected to lose 4 congressional seats in 2030. And this is on top of the 5 they lost in 2020, Bill. So
that's right. And it's the largest out-migration state in the country. People, either that or New York is. I mean, one of the two. But they are losing people who don't want to live there anymore.
Right. And there's a great article. I sent you a copy of it, and maybe the next time we do a show, we can get more into it. But there's a great article about the collapse of LA. And
absolutely. Yes, you did send me that.
And they kind of go through it all. And what you're seeing is, for those of us who are familiar with third world countries, this is what often happens in the third world, that you get so bureaucratic, you get so political, everything is political, everything is politicized. Then there's one party rule that it becomes dysfunctional. I was reading, Bill, that it takes, I think somebody put a note on the internet saying the number of weeks that it takes just to get a permit.
That's right.
I've talked to people in construction. I was talking to a fellow a few years ago who moved his company here, a small company, but still they hired 10, 15 people. And he moved the company from California. And I said, well, why did you move? It was kind of a stupid question. I kind of knew the answer, but I wanted to hear it from him. And he said, well, for one thing, just doing business is easier here. Just the little things like going down to the government office and get something, a piece of paper processed. It's 10 times faster here. In California, not only can you not get these things done, but you have to have people in between. They have all these people in between.
That's right.
That's right. You have these people you have to pay somebody to do something. And, productive people after a while say it's not worth it, Bill.
Well, that's right. When people think of California, they think that sometimes it's very nice. Whether they think of Hollywood, and when they don't realize that Hollywood, which is actually right near Los Angeles, is not California. Hollywood is Hollywood.
Right.
The city of Los Angeles is a mess. It's just a mess. It is extraordinarily expensive, and yet people do not get what they pay for. And as you said, there are all these mechanisms in the state. I mean, if you've ever had any dealings with the California, I forgot what they call their state income tax bureau, it is impossible. Now, because I was in that industry, even though I worked in New York, if I was working for a California company, I had to file a California income tax, and the red tape was just unbelievable.
Right.
So as a state, as a political entity, it is a loser, and as a business entity, there are no more aircraft manufacturers in California. California used to be the aircraft manufacturing state, and all gone, and they don't care.
Right.
That's not the kind of thing that interests them anymore. They are interested in equity. We must have equity, and the school system, which used to be the number one school system in the United States, is literally collapsing.
Right.
Because everything is designed purely for political purposes.
Right. And that's what people say, Bill, when you talk to them here.
Yes.
Because we have our share of Californians who've moved here. And when you talk to them, exactly everything you just said is exactly what they tell you. The schools,
Yes.
the unfriendliness to do business. I mean, it's almost like if you're in business, you're being hurt. I mean, like they want to punish you because
Yes, definitely.
you're a successful businessman. Instead of saying, "Hey, we need more people like you. We're going to make life easy for you," they're going to punish you. But this whole society just doesn't work, and you begin to wonder how much longer it can go. Maybe it'll go on for a long time, but a lot of productive people are going to move out. Now, let me ask you another question. I know we're a little short of time today, but I just wanted to ask you a question. Uh, when I saw all of this on TV, Bill, I couldn't help but think of myself, what a tremendous political victory this is for President Trump. Everything that's happened and the actions that he's taken, simply
Yes.
because I'll see, the deportation polls are going to go up when people see
Mhm.
what we saw. And the Democrats, their reaction just confirm. I mean, when Trump talks about an invasion, for example, sometimes it sounds like he's a bit exaggerating it. But when you see people with other flags burning cars, all of a sudden you say, maybe it's not an invasion, but it sure has the characteristics of one, Bill.
That's right. That's right. And Trump understands that, and he understands what it is like to be at home and for people in Los Angeles and see their cars burning on the street. I mean, you're quite right about the attitude toward business. The state of California today is being run by the left wing of the Democratic Party. The school system has turned into basically a propaganda system for the political left, where they're taught America is a terrible place, and you have rights, and you should exercise them in favor of your group if you're a Mexican American. And after a while, people really do get disgusted, especially when their children are involved.
Right.
But it is an absolute disgrace. I don't know what can be done after these riots are put down, because you still have the same people involved, and the people of California keep on electing the same people. Now, that may be the fault to a certain degree of the Republican Party in California. They have, after all, won state elections. We had Arnold as governor of California, and I think a few other figures have been statewide in California. But the Republican Party has got to get going and exploit each one of these disgraces caused by Democrats.
Yeah, I don't know that they can do it, at least with the people. There is a very interesting candidate in LA, Rick Carullo, I think his name is, something like that, who is a really interesting candidate in LA for mayor. But for governor, there is another fellow named Hinton.
Yes, I know who
Yeah.
you're talking about.
And he talks a good game, but I think the problem they have is the legislature.
Yes.
That's the problem.
The legislature is completely controlled by the Democratic Party and by the worst part of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to the situation in New York City. Almost identical situation. But I keep every one of these when these crazy things happen, Bill, I keep thinking there's got to be a Democrat somewhere who wakes up and goes to the microphone and says, "This is not what the Democrat Party is about. We do not defend people who do these things. We stand for law and order and legal immigration."
But that's not what they actually stand for.
No, I know.
That's their problem. The Democratic people who are in office in California are afraid of their own political party.
Right. And I'm sure they can be vicious too. And going after you. Well, Bill, we're gonna stop right now, but I just wanted to thank you. I really wanted to get your input on this situation, and we'll get back together sometime this week when all the technical stuff is working, and we'll do a full show because I want to talk to you about Iran and everything else. But I wanted to get your feedback on this. You are right. There are going to be other demonstrations. But look, I think the difference, though, is that if they demonstrate in Florida, there's a governor there that has limits, and that's apparently where there's supposed to be one in Tampa. So they'll have demonstrations, but I don't think they'll get out of hand like this one, Bill.
Well, let's see what happens. You know, we have two political parties in this country, two major parties, one of which is run by people who are anti-American.
Right.
I mean, people, they don't say that on television. I mean, the television coverage, I mean, I think most of it has been reasonably fair, but there are some people in television who welcome this. And I mean, because they are members of the political left, they are protected by the New York Times and the journalistic establishment. And unless that turns around, I don't know what we do as a nation, but this is going to be very bad for the press eventually, and very bad for the country. But I do think you're right that President Trump can come out of this very well unless he is hung up by the courts. And that's a possibility.
Well, that always can happen.
Yes.
But we'll have to wait, cross that bridge when we get to it. But thank you so much, Bill, for joining us today. And we'll connect soon and talk about Iran and some of the other issues. And I have a feeling we'll talk about LA again, because this is not the end of it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Bill.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Sylvia. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Our good friend, Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We had some technical problems, but I did want to get Bill on the show today. We used the regular phone line like we used to in the old days, and but we're going to get back with Bill, together with Bill, some other time in the future, and finish some of the other things that I wanted to get into, like Iran and everything else. But it is mind-boggling what we're seeing in California. Just mind-boggling. The total collapse of California and LA too, as a city, and California as a state. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.